It is finally time to talk about our Disney cruise. Today's video, we are going to go in depth on what my husband and I thought about our very first Disney cruise and very first cruise in general, for that fact. So we went on a Disney cruise last summer, and we asked you guys to ask us some questions about like what you wanted to know about our first cruise experience. And something that I want to point out so you know a little bit about us is we are quintessential childless millennials, for lack of a better term. I think that that's more understandable for people. We have been married a long time. We don't have children. We don't intend on having children. And we enjoy traveling. I particularly enjoy traveling to the Disney parks. My husband travels to the Disney parks because he loves me, which makes me very happy. But I do think the parks have grown on him in the last few years. I will say that. But I wouldn't describe him as like a hardcore Disney fan, as you might see from like other vloggers and those sorts of things. So I have a little bit of a different dynamic for when we travel. So we decided to go on a Disney cruise. I thought that it would be so much fun. I love all things Disney. This is kind of one of the only things that I haven't done. We've been on an Adventures by Disney trip in Southern California, which was incredible. I went with my best friend and her mom. I'm a magic key holder at Disneyland. And also my husband and I are both Disney World annual pass holders. We've been to Tokyo Disneyland. We travel a lot. If you've been to the channel, you definitely know all of this information. But to say that we are well seasoned in all things Disney is, I would say, an understatement, right? We are well seasoned Disney travelers. So this was one of the last things that we hadn't really done. And I thought, you know what? Let's see what this experience is all about. Now, something that I will tell you, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I want to be very, very honest with our experience. We do have a full vlog series on this channel of us going on the Disney Wish. I will link the playlist down below and up above for you so you can check out the videos. But something I do want to mention is that not everything I'm going to say is going to be positive. In fact, maybe a lot of it might be less positive than you have seen in other reviews. We did not love our Disney cruise experience, spoiler alert, but we did talk about that in our vlogs. And something that I just want to mention is that I don't want us to come off as ungrateful. That's definitely not it. We feel very strongly that like the worst day on vacation is better than the best day at the office. And so I just want to be clear that we did appreciate the vacation, but I am unsure if we will return to Disney cruising. So let's talk a little bit about that and why we felt that way. We went on the Disney Wish for a 4-day Bahama cruise. I've got notes, by the way, that's what I'm looking down. Day one was a sea day. It was embarkation day. We got to actually see the sail away party, which I would highly suggest, and get there very, very early. The crowds were super intense. We got a terrible viewing area with a bunch of families in front of us and a guy that kept holding his phone like right in my face. So that was entertaining. So get there early if you want a good spot to see that show. We had a Marvel dinner experience that night. And then I went to Seize the Adventure, which is a show that they put on. So they have all these like really amazing theater shows that they have on the ship, and I would highly suggest do not miss Seize the Adventure, especially if you love a rare character sighting, because there were a couple of rare characters that I just thought were so much fun. So day two was a day at Nassau, and we actually decided to stay on the ship that day. We were hoping to go around and experience things on the ship that would be while people were out doing excursions. Spoiler alert, it was a little bit too busy on the ship to do much, and I will talk about that in a little bit. That night was Frozen dinner theater. Oh my gosh, this experience, if you go on the Wish, do not skip it. And the reason why I say this is because you can get reservations at Ashante and also at Paulo, which are the alternative restaurants that you do have to pay for, that are the fine dining restaurants. I would say whatever you do, do not skip Frozen. Schedule it on another night, which you may not know your dining rotation, I believe until embarkation day. So it's kind of a little bit of a weird thing with the reservation system, but whatever you do, do not skip it. I loved this night. The live entertainment was so good. They had a violinist and a guitar player. They had a puppet that was Olaf. It was everything. I would not miss that night for the life of me. So be sure to go to that. That night, we also had the opportunity to see Aladdin. We actually opted not to see Aladdin because we had just seen the Broadway version that had come to our town here like 2 weeks before we actually embarked on this ship. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna skip it. Looking back, I probably should have gone to that because their theater experiences were really high quality, and also they usually had a little bit of a twist or a different type of story. Also, I heard that Genie was incredible, so I was a little bit disappointed that I ended up skipping that, but that's okay. Day 3 was a day at sea. It was also pirate night that night, so Disney always does a pirate night where they give you a Mickey bandana. You're encouraged to wear pirate costumes, and that night we got to see the theater production of The Little Mermaid, which is my most favorite show ever, my most favorite movie ever. And so it was really fun to see the theatrical version that they did. There were lots of fun puppets. Ursula was incredible. It definitely took on the story of Little Mermaid, the remake version, rather than the original, but it was definitely still very good. And then day 4 was my most favorite day. That day we went to Castaway Cay, which is one of Disney's private islands, and I had such an amazing time there. I know that so many people talk so highly of Castaway Cay. There is a reason for that. And then we also dined that evening at 1923, which is a very beautiful, classy themed restaurant that has to do with all the history of Disney animation through the years. So we went on this cruise. It was the 2 of us. We had a deluxe family ocean view stateroom with veranda. It was important for me to have a veranda. I wanted to be able to see outside because I have a tendency of getting motion sickness. And so the veranda was very helpful for me to get some fresh air and those sorts of things. The total for our vacation was $4,527 just for the cruise alone. So that did not have anything to do with our airfare or our driving to and from the airport to the port in Port Canaveral in Florida. Something I want to mention is that we did decide to rent a car and actually park it at Port Canaveral, and that was about $100 and some to park it for 4 days. So just keep that in mind that this is just for the cruise alone. So what does that include? So the cruise fee obviously includes your room, and it includes room service, which is kind of interesting. Something I will note about room service is that what is not included is any sort of beverages outside of ice water. If you order any sort of beverages, I'm talking like any sort of fountain drinks, those sorts of things, they will charge you, which is interesting because included in this fee are 2 different cafeterias, buffet style cafeterias, and both of them have fountain drink areas where you can get free fountain drinks. So it's just a fun tip that if you're going to order the free room service, be sure to have cash, or be sure to have to order a drink so you can use your credit card or charge it to the room to give a little bit of a tip to the individuals that are bringing the food to your room. This also includes all of the entertainment. So all the entertainment I mentioned before, Seas the Adventure, Frozen Dinner Show, 1923, Pirate Night, those are all included. And then of course your dining experiences at all of the restaurants that were listed before, except for Ashante and Apollo on this ship. Something that I do want to mention, it also does not include any alcoholic beverages whatsoever. So that is not an option in Disney cruising. They also do not have alcohol packages at the time that we sailed. I actually don't think that that has changed either. So no alcoholic packages were available to us. So that is a little bit of an overview of our cruise. And I'm just going to get into some prompts that I think are relevant to kind of discuss with you before we get into questions from you guys, which, by the way, thank you so much for sending in your questions about the cruise. They were actually very good questions and I'm excited to get to them. And Jessi, my husband, will be joining me for the question and answer portion. What surprised us about this trip, both positively and negatively? Well, I'm going to start with negative and then we're going to go to positive. So negatively, I really did not like their system of how you make reservations for excursions and also reservations for basically anything outside of what was standard included. And I guess what I didn't mention before, the other standard inclusion is they have like trivia and animation classes, and they also have all these like little entertainment pieces. Basically, any of those are available to you for free. They do have tastings for like bourbon tastings, champagne tastings, etc. Any of those are obviously an upcharge. What was difficult was that if you are a lower tier cruiser on Disney Cruise Line, which since we had never sailed before, we were the very last to be able to make a reservation for any of the excursions or any of the upcharged experiences. And so what that meant was that we basically had access to the reservation system at the very end. So it's a tiered type of experience, and I think it's like silver, gold, platinum, etc. However, they do their little Castaway Club style reward system. Actually only able to do 2 things outside of what was standard. And that was because I worked diligently on one of those things, and that was to get Enchanté reservations, which is the French style fine dining restaurant on the Wish. So I was able to lock in a very early dining reservation, and unfortunately, my husband fell ill and we were not able to make that reservation, so we had to give up that reservation. So that was a little bit unfortunate, but those sorts of things happen. It's okay. But when it came to Nassau and also when it came to Castaway Cay, the only thing available was snorkeling and bicycle rental on Castaway Cay, which we did because I desperately wanted to go and swim out to the Prince Eric statue to take a peek at the Prince Eric statue underwater, which we did, by the way. So if you want to see that vlog, again, it's up above or down below. But I did not like that was how it went, because I do think that it provides a disadvantage for people who are trying out Disney cruises for the first time. So I did feel that my experience was a little bit at a disadvantage, I guess, is how best to say it. I don't know what the solution would be for them. So this is probably the best solution for how they handle things. And so that's not my place to tell them, but I will say that I do not think that our experience was enhanced because of this. In fact, I think the latter. The other thing I want to say that was a bit negative was I feel very, very strongly that Disney cruising is not meant for couples and not meant for individuals that do not have families. That was made very, 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 very apparent when for the second we got on the ship. And this might be a bit of a controversial opinion, and I understand that. And if you disagree, I wholeheartedly respect you. But for us, we felt like the adults only areas were super duper tiny. You're not gonna find me waiting in line to get in a hot tub that's full of 10 people, which there was a line for the hot tub on several different occasions when we went to the adults only area. That's just not my vibe. Also, I will say that if you're not used to intense crowds, loud noises, those sorts of things, as someone who doesn't have children, we have a very, very quiet household. And so being around that sort of noise all of the time was a little bit intense for me. It felt in general like a very, very overwhelming experience. But if you're used to having like people around you and little ones running around and lots of yelling and noise and crowds and it doesn't bother you, this experience is for you. Definitely. Or they should increase the size of the adults only area to make it more accommodating for people that don't have children. That would be my suggestion. Was positive about the trip. There were quite a few positives. I loved the Disney touches and the Disney details. It's obviously made by Disney, right? So there's no lack of little hidden treasures all around this ship, whether it be through art or statues or hidden Mickeys, you name it. It's very, very Disney-esque, which is really, really fun. The other thing, I thought the theater experiences were amazing. Again, that Frozen dinner show was top-notch. The food was surprisingly good for the amount that they have to make. Like, for instance, we found ourselves saying on multiple occasions, like, wow, the quality of food is so good considering they're serving hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at one time, which I think speaks volumes to how Disney is running their ships. So they did do a very, very good job at that. Well, my initial thought on the boat was, holy moly, this place is massive. I'd never been on a cruise ship before, so I thought that it was really neat how truly giant the experience of being on a boat was. And again, with the Disney details, it was really, really awesome. One thing that we definitely would do again, and the one thing that we would skip would be, I think that we would skip out on staying on the boat itself during a day where we could have gotten off the ship. That was a mistake on our part. I think that we watched a significant amount of vlogs, and by we, I mean me. I watched a significant amount of vlogs before this, and I saw some vloggers stay behind, and it looked really appetizing to stay behind on the ship during specifically Nassau Day. And so I was like, you know what? We're gonna do that because I think that this will be a good experience. But what we found was we were met with several different obstacles. So we tried to go to trivia. We showed up 15 minutes early. It was so packed that there was only standing room available, so we decided to not do that. I went to 2 different arts and crafts classes. I went to those 30 minutes early. Both of them were so full that the cast members were like, hey, just come on in, get your supplies, and then get out of here. Basically, they didn't have any space for us. It was just really interesting. So I found myself on the day of us when we were supposed to be going to Nassau, kind of like sitting in our room and doing arts and crafts, which was not what we were hoping for. I was hoping to take advantage of a lot of those courses with other people. I thought it would be fun for the interaction and those sorts of things, but that's the reality of what it was. So I think that we would skip on staying behind on the ship. What we would do again, though, is I actually think that snorkel and bicycle package that we did get, because it was the only thing that was left on Castaway Cay, we would do that again. I loved being able to ride on a beach cruiser and go and swim and snorkel around. It was lovely. I really, really, really enjoyed that day, and I really loved a beach cruiser. That was just so fun. It reminded me of like childhood. This vacation compared to your expectations. Full transparency, I was very disappointed. I found myself saying to my husband on multiple occasions, because I watched all these vlogs and they made it seem like this cruise experience was so magical, and it almost felt like it was an intimate experience. Like it was just like a few friends taking a cruise, or like not overwhelming all the time. And like there was, I don't know, it just, I kept saying, like, I feel like the people that were vlogging were lying to us. Like, I really, truly felt that. And I hate to say that because this is no diss against Disney vloggers, but I do think that there's definitely some rose-colored glasses going on during the vlogging experience. And I think partly because of that, and I don't think that this is of any fault of the individuals that are creating these vlogs, but I will say that I think that it's a different experience for them because the majority of them live in Orlando. And the reason why that's relevant is because they can go to Disney World every single day, but when they go on a cruise, it's a vacation. So I think it's more of an exciting experience and more of a positive experience for them because they're not in the parks. They're doing something different. They're doing something unique that they're not used to doing. And so I could see how that could be more exciting than just going to the parks or something along those lines, if that makes sense. I hate to say it, but I just want to be very honest with you about our experience. So I'm going to bring in my husband. He's going to tell you a little bit about what he thought of the experience as someone who's not a super avid Disney fan. And then we're going to answer the questions that you guys sent in together. Tell us about your Disney cruise experience. What was it like as someone who's not like a crazy Disney fan?
It was terrible. No, it was okay. It just wasn't for me at all in any way.
And maybe we're not cruise people.
Yeah.
I think that we discovered that actually.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you not like about it?
The crowds. Mainly just the crowds and the activities. There was nothing to do. Oh, there was no casino too.
Oh my God! The second we stepped on
the
we stepped on the boat, Jessie goes, "Where's the casino?" And I was like,
I was led to believe that there was going to be a casino. I just assumed.
No, you assumed.
I assumed there'd be a fallback plan. No matter what happens, you can go play cards and gamble, and have a moment of enjoyment to yourself.
And it was not that way.
No, there was nothing to do. The hot tub line was crazy. It was like
yeah.
The food was good. If you like to eat a whole bunch of food and have everything planned out for you and get yelled at for swimming too far out or stay in the lines, then it's for you.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful, logistically it was really cool to see the boat and how it works and all the people that work there and how they fed everyone and just how everything works was cool. But
like if someone was taking their significant other who wasn't a big Disney fan, what would you tell them?
Buy a big cooler full of beers and put your own ice in it so you don't have to drink lukewarm rodeo cold beers the whole time.
That's a fair thing.
Yeah, get your beers really cold because you're going to want one thing that you can enjoy.
Wow. Okay. Glowing reviews by Jessie. So we're going to move on to some cruise questions. So Ashley Espina. Hi, Ashley. For being your first cruise, was it worth the hype?
No. Absolutely not.
No. And I do want to say, like, I do think that the expectation was set by vloggers for me. Because I kept saying, I can't believe this is happening. How many times did I tell you? Like, the vloggers lied to me.
Yeah.
Every day.
Some fibbing going on.
Multiple times a day. Kelly Byrne, hi Kelly, says, are the dining tables as close together as they appear? It looks too tight for my liking.
I didn't think they were, like, too congested or anything. There's a whole bunch of people in there at once, so it seems pretty busy.
Yeah.
But, like, you have plenty of room to eat. Like a normal amount of dining room.
Well, yeah, and like if you need it, so say you need to get up to go to the bathroom, like it wasn't like you're hitting chairs or anything. Like it didn't feel like that. Like you could easily get up from your table and like walk to where you needed to go, and I don't think it would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, you are seated with people that you don't know at first too, so there's that. If that bothers you, then that would be something.
Yeah, and so I do want to be clear. We did request to have our own table. You can put in a request when you first book your cruise. I did request that because I'm like, we're going to be vlogging. It's probably not comfortable for other people to see us vlogging at a table. You know, if like the strangers that we're sitting with probably wasn't as comfortable having us record things and do things. I do think that that's part of the tiered system that I told you guys earlier, and we were denied that. So we ended up sitting with two other couples. One couple, hi Katie and Owen. I don't know if you're watching, but we love you guys. You guys made our cruise experience very fun. And I think that if you are okay with being social, I do think that it was kind of fun to have.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, checking in after every day and seeing what they were up to and stuff and having people to talk to. So that was cool.
Yeah, and it's the same people every night.
Yeah.
So like all 4 nights it was the same individuals. Yeah. And we did have another couple that sat at our table the first night, but they decided to no longer join us the rest of the time. But I felt really bad for them. This was their first experience outside of COVID, like going on a vacation after COVID. And I could not imagine how incredibly overwhelming and horrible that experience had to be for them based off of the crowds and like what this cruise was like, because it was just crowds and crowds and crowds and crowds everywhere you looked except for your stateroom. Mm-hmm. Like we even had to wait in line several times to get the elevator. Like it was that type of crowd.
It's very busy.
Yeah.
Surprisingly busy.
Surprisingly busy. XOXO Jilzian asks, hi Jilzian. Disney cruises for people who don't have kids and don't like kids? ?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
I would say it's not. I don't think cruises are for anyone. No, I don't know.
I do think particularly this cruise is made for people with families. So they have like daycare, they have, kids clubs, they have all of these things that I think that are really catered to families. And that is who you're going to see. The majority of the people there, I mean, I think we got sat with like the two other couples that were on this trip that weren't with their families is how I feel about it. And if you're looking to get away at the adults only area, it's wild. It's so freaking busy. It's like,
it's tiny. The pool is tiny and you're waiting in line. I don't know. It's just not, I don't know. I don't like waiting in line for things.
Yeah, I don't either. And it's funny, like, we say these things, but we go to Disney all the time. But for some reason, it's just so much more easily tolerable at Disney. But I think it's because at Disney, we can go to certain places like...
You like separate yourself from it a little bit or go find a quiet spot on the pier thing at, I don't know what it's called. Epcot. There's all kinds of little places we know to sneak off to.
Yeah, totally. Mm. And we also, there's also so many enjoyable places that we can go. Like when we were at Port Orleans French Quarter, we could go to a little jazz bar and enjoy ourselves, we just couldn't find our place on this ship. And, that could be our fault for not going and exploring more and trying to like really put in an effort to find something. But I just think the experience was a little bit too overwhelming for us. Yeah. We Dream Disney Color. Hi guys. What did you find helped with motion sickness? So, as you guys probably know, I really struggle with motion sickness. I get car sick. I get plane sick sometimes. Basically, the other day it was windy here for 2 days, and then I got sick afterwards because my equilibrium was all thrown off. So anyway, struggle with that. I got scopamine patches. Those are the little patches that go behind your ear. That was a life changer, lifesaver. You have motion sickness that's more than just something that can be cured by a Dramamine. That is what you need. I got one of those like little electromagnetic shock. Remember that shock watch? And we were at Port Orleans French Quarter and I put it on and I was like, like it was so intense. They're like, oh yeah, just put it on. It'll shock you every now and again.
You get used to it.
It was a literal intense electroshock therapy. Do not waste your money on one of those things. That is wild. That was...
I never tried it. I mean, I touched it, but I never tried it.
It was intense though.
Yeah.
I think that I do want to mention that I know is a little bit odd, but I feel like it's relevant information if you have motion sickness, is that the veranda was not as good as I was hoping for it to be. Because when you go out, the water is always going side to side instead of you facing forward. So we were on the side of the ship. And so anytime I would look out there and I would see the water, I would get dizzy. So I would have to go out on the veranda and then point myself towards the front of the ship to be able to like see the waves coming towards us in order for me not to feel super dizzy. So it's something to keep in mind. If you do have really intense motion sickness, I would suggest getting towards the front of the boat where when you're facing out, you can actually see the water coming towards you. Or on the back of the boat where it's like going away from you. But for me, that sideways, oh my gosh, it was horrible. But Bree Cool, hi Bree Cool, Was it too busy to be enjoyable? Did the overwhelming feeling subside?
Yes and no. We spent a lot of time in the room.
We did. Yeah, we found, I do think it was too busy for us to be enjoyable. I do feel that way. You know, I don't like waiting in line to go up and down stairs. I don't like waiting in line to go to an elevator. Every little arts and crafts place that I wanted to go, like course that I wanted to go to was so full that they sent me on their way, basically. Like, here's your supplies, go to your room kind of a situation. And that just wasn't part of my idea of a cruise experience. Oh. And it's really hard to actually plan a cruise experience too. I want to mention that because they don't release the schedule until you're on the ship. So you can't really plan ahead, which I'm a planner. So unfortunately, I think it was too busy.
I always imagined gambling would be part of my cruise experience. It just seemed like what you do. What I've seen, like all I've heard from every boat that anyone goes on is that's part of it.
Right. I mean, typically it is.
Yeah. Like,
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Things if I would have known, I would have warned him, but I didn't know that was like what you were looking for.
Yeah, I just assumed that's what all adults want to do when they go onto a boat.
I do love gambling. So Brequel also asked, did you have the Disney bubble feel like at the parks?
It felt like a bubble, I guess, yeah. Trapped inside of a bubble.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit
bubbly.
Claustrophobic. I will say yes and no. It was a different type of Disney bubble, if that makes sense. Like, I still feel like there were a lot of cast members that were very Disney-esque, but there were a lot of things that Disney has that the cruise line is lacking, in my opinion. Maybe it's just that at the parks, there's just so much that's accessible for everybody to do.
Lots of Disney paintings and things.
Yeah, there's lots of Disney paintings. It did not feel like a park experience, though. If that's the question, it does not feel like the park Disney bubble. That's a special bubble to me. This did not feel like a special bubble to me. This felt like a stress bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. JW Sabota. Hi. What are the best and worst items that you packed?
Best item was the hooded fishing shirt, like the thin hoodie shirt.
It's like an SPF shirt.
Yeah, that's the bomb.
Yeah, that was really good for you. I loved having the magnetic hooks because everything was magnetic in our room. And so when we needed to dry our bathing suits and those sorts of things, we actually had a place to do so. And also they came in handy because we went to that animation academy and we could put up our paintings or our pictures that we drew. So that was kind of fun. But I would highly, highly suggest bringing those. Actually, in fact, I didn't bring enough of them. We used them all. And also, I would like to suggest, please bring more than one bathing suit. I only brought one bathing suit. I don't know what was wrong with me. I needed at least two.
So you could dry one out a little bit?
Yeah, I needed to be able to dry my suit out, and I wasn't able to. So definitely bring that. And also a higher SPF sunscreen. That was helpful for us. Because the sun is so much harsher in the islands than it is on land. So like when we go to Disney World, we do like 30 SPF, but when we were in the Bahamas, we did SPF 70 and we still got a little burned. So definitely higher SPF is worth it. Right round crafts. If you were in charge of Disney cruises, what would you change or add?
The marketing.
I thought you were going to say casino.
No, add a casino.
At a casino.
Don't advertise to people that don't have a spot there.
Right. I would change the reservation system. I don't think it's fair that they cater to only individuals that have cruised several different times. I do think there's a time and place for that, but I do think you need to let your new cruisers have access to certain things that only elite cruisers have access to, because when you go on... my understanding is that when you go on other cruises, you still have access to excursions regardless of how many times you've sailed with the company.
Yeah. It's not going to be an issue that I have to figure out.
Emily Burtneeks. Hi, Emily. Are there a lot of things you have to pay extra for, and were you able to actually relax on the cruise? Obviously alcohol, we had to pay extra for. And then really anything on a lot of stuff on the island. Like I got some really fancy juices at Castaway that were so delicious because I don't drink. But I had some mocktails. The food was included. The food there was very good on Castaway. The extra for no, just like tipping for a room service.
Beer, yeah, it's expensive. Alcohol is expensive.
Alcohol is very expensive. You can bring on beer and wine in your carry-on. If you drink, you're definitely going to save money in that way. So definitely do that. We did not do that because we were coming from a Disney trip before this. So that was kind of my fault because we didn't plan accordingly. But we probably should have because we would have saved quite a bit of money.
They get you with the specialty drinks. Just get a cooler that they'll sell you with like 10 beers in it and then fill it with ice. Keep your beers ice cold. Unless you want to drink warm-ish beers and it's not good in the heat. It's challenging.
Challenging. Were you able to relax on the cruise? I feel like we've answered that.
A little bit when I was in the room sleeping.
Yeah, we did hide in the room a lot to get away from the crowds, which was kind of sad.
The time we sat in the pool that one time for a minute was nice.
Yeah, we did sit in the adults only infinity pool for probably a couple hours actually. Yeah. We kind of like we stood our ground and like stayed in there for quite a while.
Yeah.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, that was a nice relaxing time. Beleskimo said, would you go again?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. I think I would, but hear me out. I don't think that Jessi will go with me. No offense.
No.
But they do have a 3-day cruise. I believe it's on the Treasure ship that goes to Lighthouse Point.
Wait, Lookout Point at. Anyway, Lighthouse Point?
Lighthouse Point? I'm going to put it on the screen. The other Disney private island. And the next day you go to Castaway and then you go back. The most enjoyable experience for me was going to Castaway Cay. I thought it was fabulous there. It was beautiful. I got to see the Prince Eric statue. We rode beach cruisers. We laid around. It was fabulous. That's where we relaxed.
Yeah, we saw a pelican too. That was cool.
Oh yeah, we watched a pelican.
The pelican was circling and eating fish. It was cool.
That was lovely. That was a good day. And so because that cruise is literally, you go to Lookout Point, you go to Castaway and back, I think I could do that. And it's only 3 days. I think that would be worth it. But other than that, I don't know if cruising is for me.
No.
Don't know. For me. Yeah. The biggest question of all from K Possible 88, hey K Possible, is it worth it? For us, no.
No. No, there's some moments, but it's like there's more better things you could do for $4,500 plus more probably.
Yeah, so I mean, just to put it into perspective, $4,500 is 2 10-day trips for us to Disney World. Yeah. Because we're annual pass holders, so we could literally stay 10 days at Pop Century for $2,500 ish, and that would be a much better experience.
We could have gone to Japan for 10 days for that.
Ooh. So when we went to Japan for 2 weeks, it was $10,000. And that included our airfare. So that does put it into perspective because this was $4,500 plus we needed to purchase airfare. So it was almost how much it cost to go to Japan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So all in all, guys, as you probably know, I don't think cruising is for us. I definitely would go into it knowingly. Take the vlogs with a grain of salt. I hate to say that.
It's true. I mean,
but it was true though. It
everybody
definitely
likes different things though, so it's like
that's fair.
You never know what Some if you like staying in the lines and eating a lot of food, then if you don't want to swim up past the breakers.
Jessi really wanted to. He's a water baby though. He wanted to swim far. They're like, if they have it roped off where you can't swim in Castaway past a certain point.
Yeah, I'm a private island. I can't swim out past the breakers.
I know.
They made a song about it.
They did. But guys, we would love to know if you have been on a Disney cruise, what did you think about it? Because I know that our opinions are just our opinions and I don't necessarily want to sway you, but I do think it's important to hear maybe a little bit of a different perspective on on Disney cruises. I love Disney. We will definitely be going back to Disney World. We already have a trip that we are planning to go back to Tokyo Disney in 2026. So I feel, yeah, like this didn't taint my love for all things Disney, but I don't have a lot of love for Disney Cruise Line.
Or any cruises, I don't think. I think
Or any cruise, that's fair. Or any cruises. I don't think it's necessarily just Disney.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, I don't know what it would take to make me appreciate a cruise, but
a casino, clearly.
A casino would help.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. Let us know below what you thought about Disney Cruise Line, if you have been on it, or another Disney cruise. I would love to hear what your experience has been, or just leave us a comment down below. I had so much fun hanging out with you guys. Thank you, and we will see you in the next video. TTFN. Bye.